This is the Chenese Lewis Show, the #1 podcast for plus-size women. With your host, the queen of curvy conversation, Chenese Lewis.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chenese Lewis. Today is Monday, April 25th, 2016. Stay connected with me in between shows on Instagram at Chenese Lewis, on Facebook at Chenese Lewis Show, and on Twitter at Chenese Show. Today we have a very special guest, Krisha Joseph-Baker. She is the lead designer of Lavendar's Jungle, a fashion line created with the full-figured woman in mind. Established in 2012, in 4 short years, Krisha has produced 11 collections, and her garments can be found in over 25 boutiques across the United States. And she has worked with some of the industry's top celebrity stylists. The Atlanta-based company known for cutting-edge fashion and innovative fashion productions launched its latest collection, Urban Prep, to rave reviews. Today we're going to learn more about her and the brand. Let's welcome Krisha to the show.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. I'm excited to talk to you and learn more about everything you have going on.
Well, I'm excited to be here, so thank you.
Your great-grandmother was a master seamstress and taught you how to sew at an early age. Now, what age was this?
I would have to say it was between like 6 and maybe 9. I used to spend a lot of time with my great-grandmother, and to keep me busy and out of her hair, she would have me cut out patterns and, hand-stitching buttons. So, at 8 years old, I'm hand-stitching buttons on, anything just to keep me busy and kind of out of her way. And then, of course, just being around her, I started to learn pattern development and those kind of things. I was always excited to go with her to, like, the fabric store, Woolworth, some old fabric stores from back in the day that don't even exist anymore. So it was a good time for me.
And what a blessing it is you were able to even spend time with your great-grandmother like that, because I never even met both of my grandmothers. So great-grandmother, that's a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, when I'm still working today, I feel like she's here. It feels like she's still massaging my hands and my shoulders and still training me. So it's a blessing.
Now, throughout your life, you designed and constructed garments for your family and friends. So were you doing this throughout while you were in school, like high school and college?
Yeah, I've just always, I can't really say design, because when I was younger, I was cutting up socks and putting them on my Barbies and saying, this fabulous dress I'm about to make. But seriously, making clothes for others probably started in about high school, maybe my first year of high school, and I continued to do it. So I would make wedding dresses, prom dresses. When someone in the town finds out you can sew, then everyone wants you to sew something fabulous for them. So that's kind of how I got started.
You could make something as elaborate as a wedding dress when you were in high school?
I actually started out making formal wear. Yeah, believe it or not. Most people, they kind of go backwards. They kind of shy away from formal wear because it is very detailed. But the women that I learned to sew from were seamstress. They were tailors. And so these were the things that they worked with. They weren't into high fashion stuff working down the runway. They were in bridal shops, so this is where I got my learning, my education. So formal stuff is where I started.
So did you make your own prom dress to go to school, to the prom?
Indeed. My own prom dress, my own wedding dress, friends' dresses, yeah. So much that I barely make that stuff now.
Now, even though you knew from an early age that fashion was your passion, why did you decide to work in corporate America?
You know, it's funny because I'm from Wichita, Kansas, and at the time that I really wanted to get off into fashion, there is no fashion really in Wichita, Kansas. There's no fashion schools or, you know, nothing like that. So I had got whiff of this person, Damon Johnson, big time in New York. And to me, New York is like the land of Oz. You know, growing up, I'm like, that's where I need to follow the yellow brick road to the land of, you know, New York. And
right.
I was calling this man's number. And, of course, he had, like, 15 receptionists, it seemed like, and they were not trying to have me getting through. So I was calling every day for probably about a month with, you know, I had my spiel ready. I'm designer. I'm going to do all these great things. And they would never let me through. So one day I called, and I just pretended that he and I were already on the phone. And I was like, I just got disconnected with Mr. Johnson. You need to connect me back to him right away. You know, we were just talking to him. You know, this made it sound very urgent. And the lady was kind of like, well, who are you? And I was like, listen, I don't have time for that. You know, really acting snappy with her. And she's like, okay. So she connects me to him. And Damien gets on the phone, and I'm like, ah. So he's like, hello? And so I'm like trying to breathe, like, yeah, so I'm a designer out of Wichita, Kansas. And he kind of just chuckled. He was like, okay, honey, you know, slow down. And this is really when, like, FUBU was, like, at the height, before Baby Fat had come out with anything. And at the time, I wanted to
Okay, so you are talking about, for those who don't know, this is the Damon that's on Shark Tank, the black guy on Shark Tank.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so when I finally talked to him, I'm telling him I design. I'm talking all fast. He can kind of see I'm nervous. He kind of chuckles. And I'm like, what do I do next? And he said, well, you should probably send some sketches over, you know. So I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to run around town, find this fax machine. I get the sketches sent over. They call me back and say, are you interested in moving to New York? And I'm like, absolutely. That's what this whole dream is about. Well, at the time I was married. I was very young and married. I married when I was 18, and my ex-husband at the time, he was 33. So he was very stapled in where he wanted to be in Kansas, and he was not interested in moving to New York. So that dream kind of died right there. And that was my reality of when you're a kid and you have these big dreams and you dream, I'm going to do this, and you're rambunctious and you don't really care about where I'm going to eat or live. That was my reality moment to being an adult that, okay, I'm going to need to get a job because this whole dream thing is not going to happen. So that's when I started going to school, got into college, and kind of just took off from there. Went into retail management and legal and things like that, and just that's how I got into corporate America. My dream of going to the land of Oz kind of died that day.
Now, do you regret that decision? Do you go back and be like, I should have left him and moved to New York?
I eventually did leave him, but I got two beautiful children out of that marriage. And so I don't regret that because my children are my life, you know, the reason why I'm doing the things that I do. So I don't regret it. Everything happens for a reason. And I don't believe that I was mature enough, you know, at 19 years old to even go to New York on my own, you know, this naive girl from Kansas. I just think eventually I'm sure I would have made it through. You know, I have my mother's blood to survive, but it would have been very difficult for me. So this right now is a nice, easy transition, and all the years of working for some of, you know, the top companies that you can work for, learning their marketing strategies, and I mean, that stuff I can't pay for. They paid me to work for them, and I got to learn that knowledge, so I don't regret it.
So what is your background in corporate America? What was your field that you were doing? First when I went into management, it was retail management. I used to work at a large retail chain that I was going in every day and I was shopping in, and they I was helping customers when I was in the store. You know, because I knew about fit and clothing just because I made clothes. And so someone would try to find a pair of jeans, and I would say, oh, no. You don't need that style of jean. You need this style of jean because your waist is higher. And so I was, you know, they saw me doing this on a regular, and then the manager was like, hey, you should come in and go through our management program. And I'm like, really?
And what's the discount if I do that? Like, do I get a because I shop here every day? Like, do I get a discount? And anyway, so I went through the management program and became a store manager, and that was over the Gap store. Mm-hmm. So I learned the retail and merchandising of Gap, Old Navy, all that, those chains of stores, and that was really good information, working in those stores and learning how to really view the public, and answer to the public and how to merchandise a store. And then from there, I went into actual corporate America, working for Coca-Cola and Protection One, just different companies working in their management and legal team. That was my last employer, which was through the Coca-Cola company for their risk management and quality team. So, and I learned, that was not retail, but I learned so much there as far as marketing. I mean, they are a beast when it comes to marketing. And when I apply some of those things to this little company, I'm always surprised that, oh, my God, it worked.
Now, all the while you were doing corporate America, you were still living in Kansas, right?
Well, and I did it here, too. So when I originally moved here from Kansas in 2004, I think it was, something like that, I started working with Coca-Cola here. And, so I was doing corporate there, and I was doing corporate here. When I moved here, fashion was not on my mind. I didn't think, but the day that I left the company with Coca-Cola, I was clearing out my desk and looking on the back of some PowerPoint presentations that I had, and I had all these sketches of dresses. I mean, months and years I had been there for so many years, and I had all these sketches crammed in my desk that I had been doodling in meetings and didn't even realize that my soul was like, this is where you need to be. And I sat there at my desk really like teary-eyed, like, oh, my goodness, this is my next step. Very scary, but it's like a light bulb came on when I was sitting there, and I was like, this is going to be the next step. I'm not going to apply for another job anywhere else. This is going to be the next crazy step. So here I am.
Now, Lavendar's Jungle is co-owned by Sherry Baker. Now, did you know her in Kansas, or you two met in Atlanta?
Yeah, Sherry Baker is actually my wife. We've been together for 16 years. We moved here together in Atlanta, Georgia. We met in 2000 in Kansas. Kansas is kind of the Bible Belt, and so we were kind of like that black lesbian couple everywhere we went. It was like we were that. And when we moved here, it
was a whole different experience.
Oh, gosh. For one, culturally, just having our people around us, and then having you can go downtown, and it's like this whole gay, village,
Right.
So it was no big deal. So we could kind of get comfortable. We're still reserved even, within ourselves, but still we could be comfortable and feel like, if we go to a restaurant, somebody's not staring at us like, there they are.
Right,
so,
right.
She co-founded the company with me, though.
And what's her role in the company?
She does all the marketing and all the other stuff that, behind the scenes as a designer. If I'm sitting at the sewing machine sewing all day, there's still other things that have to be done, the running of the websites and all of our social media. So, all the team that we have put together for that, she does it. And if I just wake up in the middle of the night and I have this crazy idea, like I want to shut down I-85 and have a fashion runway show, she's the person that's like, oh, Lord, let me go see if the city will give us a permit. She's that person that, because I do that. I wake up like, I want to do this. And, the one thing I love about her, she knows my free spirit, and she's just kind of like, okay, we're gonna see if we can make it happen. Instead of, girl, you crazy. She's always that, we're going to see what I need to do. You're always challenging me with what I need to do to make your stuff happen. And I'm just like, yeah. So she does all of that, and I'm so grateful for that, because when it comes time to develop a collection, my mind really has to be in that artistic mode, and I'm not thinking about, what I need to eat or anything. I'm not thinking about other sides of the business, so she's that great asset to the company and like another part of me to run that asset, that part of the company for us.
Now, was it a challenge coming from corporate America background to the plus community? Because I feel, in my personal opinion, it's a lot of people in the plus community who are passionate about what they're doing, but they're not business savvy.
Yeah. I think that, both Sherry and I have a business background. We both, we always tell our sons, among the two of us, we have 7 degrees, so how many degrees are you going to bring in this house? We're always that. We have a lot of education behind us, a lot of corporate experience. And I think when we first started our company, people were kind of like, you guys just came out of nowhere and you just kind of got all this exposure. But what we really did was we took care of the business side first. So before, we put any garment out or showed any garment, we made sure our company was legal, it was registered, that we owned our name. We were doing all those kind of things in the background. So that corporate experience is very much the core of our business. That is business. And I think everybody should take business classes so they can learn those. I hear horror stories every day of someone saying, I agreed to this and they didn't pay me or they did me wrong. And we always start every business venture with, I don't care who it is, a model, a producer of a company, anyone, with contracts. We always take care of the business side first. And some people are offended by that when they want to do business with us because, we're like, okay, well, let's just go into a written agreement. And they're like, why do we have to do that? But it just is what it is. It makes me comfortable if we lay out expectations first, and then we can get to the fun stuff later. So I don't think it was a challenge in that aspect as far as business, but I think getting into the fashion industry, it's kind of funny. It's kind of like it's a facade. I don't know. It's kind of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of that goes on that I was not prepared for because in business, it is what it is. We talk numbers. We talk, it's tangible. It's real stuff. It's not, you got to go over here and play nice with this person so they'll put you
not
in
a lot
show.
of foolishness.
I'm like, what? So I don't just pay the fee? It's like, no, you got to go kiss up to him. I'm like, oh, my God. This is craziness.
Right.
That was the interesting part, about really getting into the industry.
So was that your biggest obstacle, you think, or was it something else that was a big obstacle in making the transition? No,
I think that was really just learning the fashion industry. My background, like I said, comes from a bunch of old ladies who quilt and, the seaming. So the whole side of this is couture or this is haute couture. And I'm like, that's not possible for that to be haute couture. What I know it to be, the wording to be, that's not possible for that to be that. And then I'm learning, it's just a word you say when you want to say something's fabulous. So, kind of learning the lingo because I have to go back to my books and I'm like, okay, are we speaking the same language? I remember the first year we came out, we were in Full Figure Fashion Week, and I was terrified, first of all, because my wife entered me into Full Figure Fashion Week, and I had no idea what was going on until I received a call from the team. And I was like, what? Like, who have you been showing our clothes to? What's going on? And then I was like, okay, these clothes are just clothes I was just sewing, for fun. But now I have to actually get a collection together. I have to really pull a collection together of cohesiveness, of, structure, and I have to know what I'm doing. And when we went to Full Figure Fashion Week, I didn't know anything about what goes on backstage. All I know is I love fabric, and I wanted to make fabulous dresses. So they're telling me, we're going to have someone come and help you get the girls ready. And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around, and someone shows up, and they say, do you need a dresser? And I said, no, I don't need a dresser. I send them off, and I'm like, oh, my God, this happened like 4 times. I'm like, why aren't they sending me anyone over here to help me get the girls together? And they come back and they said, well, do you need a dresser? And I'm thinking dresser to me is someone I put my clothes inside, my underwear, my socks, And so I'm like, why the heck would I fold my clothes at a fashion show and put them in a dresser? no, I don't need a dresser. I was like, what I really need is someone to help me get the girl's dress. And they're like, that's a dresser, sweetie. And I was like, oh, God. I was like, okay, I'm going to need to carry around a book with some terminology because, I need to understand that we're speaking the same language. So just that whole, for that to be my first fashion show on the scene, that really taught me a lot backstage about just the quick change and just the production and just the busyness of it all backstage. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Right. Now, you produce elaborate productions for your company that are very creative, especially for a plus-size clothing line. Now, what inspires you to create your own fashion events that are outside the box?
I think, for one, I'm a Pisces, and we live in dream world all the time. Like, we believe in unicorns and all that kind of mermaids, and so I'm constantly in that space. Even when people are talking to me, sometimes I'm like, this person's like a whimsical butterfly, like she's all over the place. I'm somewhere else with it. And so when it comes to doing fashion shows, first of all, I don't like fashion shows. I hate sitting through fashion shows. I usually get a front row ticket, and I'm picking apart the seams and all that. So I try not to be in them or really even go to too many of them because it's like work to me. But when we were talking about having our own production, we were like, we don't want to have a regular fashion show. And what would it look like? So I love theater. I love the arts. And then I kept meeting all these fabulous just artists here in Atlanta, like people who do music, stage production, stage props. I was just meeting all these people. It was kind of like Dorothy on the Yellow Brick Road, and she's meeting the Tin Men and the Scarecrow. That's how it was for me. It's like I was meeting all these people, and I was like, they have got to come, and be a part of this so we can bring that artistry into it. So when we start planning our show last year for the Fashion Playhouse, that's kind of how it came about. It was like I want to showcase the artistry of all these people that's involved in this production. I do not want it to be clothes walking down the runway and turning around, because it was about the clothes, but not really. It was more about the showcase.
So you don't really call your events fashion shows. They're more like a fashion event.
It's called the Fashion Playhouse because a playhouse is a theater, and usually a playhouse is somewhere where children go to play, but this is the Fashion Playhouse for adults where we can go and play, like at the event that I had, our VIP, I brought music in and live entertainment. So before they even got to see the show, they were in there partying with a live singer and a live band, boozing it up, whatever they were doing in there. They were in there having a good time. Me and the models were backstage having a good time, actually. We were back there sipping and eating and sharing stories and playing the tambourine. So, I just want it to be fun for everyone. I don't want it to be like, oh, I went to this show and, it's over. It's still, they still talk about that show because they had a good time, and that's what I wanted.
Now, your latest collection, Urban Prep, is fabulous and got a lot of buzz. Tell me, what was the inspiration behind your latest collection?
I really had the opportunity to travel a lot over the last year. And, I went to New York and Chicago and Dallas and all these great places I was just able to travel. Well, it seemed like everywhere I was going, I kept seeing, like, graffiti everywhere. Like, it was on trains, on bus stop benches, on the sidewalk. It was everywhere. In every city I was going to, this is all I was seeing. And I was like, these artists are really trying to, like, express themselves, whereas someone else would say, oh, my God, they damaged a building. I'm thinking about the artistry because art is vulnerable, and for you to share your vulnerability, even if it's on a billboard or if it's on a park bench, that's really where it came from. So when I started putting this collection together, I was like, I don't want to stray away from things I normally would do. I want to, challenge myself, and I do want to be a little bit vulnerable. And I want to put that into the collection. So for me, that's how it kind of came about with the Urban Prep. The prep is just my technique because even when I try to get away from structure, I'm still very structured when it comes to the technique of making garments. I'm very structured. So that's why it's called the urban prep. So, it's kind of that city life clothes, but still I can wear it to the office. Then I can put a belt with it and wear it out, so yeah.
Now, what is the size range and price point of your clothing?
I make size 12 through 28. And the price point is around $60 up to, like, some things can range from like $350, like for coats and jackets, tailored jackets. But, like, I have, like, pencil skirts and things like that are probably, I think they're like $47, something like that.
Okay. And today your garments can be found in over 25 boutiques across the United States. Now, can you name a few of them off the top of your head? Because I looked on your website. I don't think I saw a list of the boutiques.
Yeah, that actually has not been updated. The boutiques that we used to work with, I've actually dissolved many of those relationships. When I first started out, we probably was in a lot more boutiques than that, actually. But there was a process we went through with working with boutiques, so they had to be approved. We didn't just wholesale to everyone. And one thing I noticed with working with the boutiques is that some of them went into partnering or purchasing their merchandise off of, like, the dhgate.com, the overseas companies. And I worked very closely with my boutique partners, because I wanted to make sure they could sell the garment, that they were going to purchase from me. Otherwise, it just sits on the hanger. That's not the goal. So I noticed that when they start going to using those overseas, buy a shirt for $3, that it just didn't make sense for me to still have my clothing inside of a lot of those boutiques, because if your customer is a customer who buys a shirt for $15, you're going to have a hard time trying to sell them this shirt for $70, because it's just not the same person. So that's probably why you don't see on the website. That's actually old language on there. But, yeah, I don't know if a few of them probably still have some clothing in there, but I know I actually dissolved the majority of those relationships with the boutiques.
Now, your company also has a pay-it-forward philosophy where you are not only known for fashion, but for your philanthropy efforts as well. So why is it important for you, and tell us some of the things that you do in the community?
I think it's important to help the people that are coming up behind you, even if you haven't, let's say you haven't already made it. I've only been in business for 4 years, so, I'm not millionaire status or, I'm nowhere near there. But I'm very strong on my pastor and the words of my First Lady of just making sure that no matter what you have, that you're constantly being a steward and you're giving and you're encouraging that type of behavior. So there's, like, organizations around here and even some, like, in the Midwest that we've helped, like, if they have fashion shows, we've donated, money or clothing or, whatever. One of the groups here, they were trying to go to New York actually one year to present, and we paid for their expenses to be able to go to New York to be able to present there. And just different things. I don't really advertise it. They do. They'll tag me on social media and say, thank you, Lavendar's Jungle, for doing this. But I don't really advertise it much because I don't do it for that. I don't do it for to be put on a pedestal like, oh, she's this great philanthropist. Because we do so many things. My wife and I, we feed the homeless here. We clothe the homeless here. It's something that we just do regularly. We don't take pictures and say, we're down here and we just do it, because you never know. You could be in that situation one day and you might I wish someone would bring me a pair of shoes or somebody would bring me a pair of jeans or, just help me out in my hard times. And we're human, And I think when we lose that human aspect and we start getting ahead and start moving forward in our careers and we forget about the other people who are struggling, that's really when we start to fail.
Well, that's awesome. I commend you for doing that. More people should do it, so you're going to continue to be blessed. That's amazing. So what is the ultimate goal with your company? You're just 4 years in, but you've done a lot. What do you see yourself like maybe in 10 more years?
My wife, I think she asks me this every day. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to, go with large retail? I think initially that was the goal, to really be inside of like large retail establishment, like Macy's or Nordstrom's or something like that. But you lose a lot of yourself and your company when you go that route. Okay, you're gonna, get wide exposure and all of that, but I guess it depends on what you're in the market for. Our ultimate goal is to be able to leave our children's children a legacy. Our Bible teaches us that we have to provide a way for our children's children. And if I can't do that if someone else owns my name, and as soon as I die, there's no royalties that go to my children or their children. So if the goal is to leave a legacy for, my great-great-grandchildren after I'm dead and gone, I have to make sure I make strategic moves, and I still have to own my brand in order to do that. And so really the goal is to be able to have our own stores under our, kind of like how Lane Bryant has, when they started out very small, but to have our own stores globally with our own label, and to be able to have other labels under us. And and still I want to produce shows. I still want to be like the female Tyler Perry, and produce fun shows with a full figure team and a full figure cast. Because it's always shocking. In my last show, when I had a full figure pole dancer, everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, is this really happening? Is this girl really full figure? Is it trickery with the lights?" And I was like, "No, she is actually full figure." So, it's that wow moment, because they think we can't do something. We have this stable of we're lazy, or, other stigmas that they put on if you're, got a little extra pounds, that we can't do something. That's not true. That is just not true. We can do anything we want to do. So I still want to be able to produce and just have my own label throughout the world.
Right. Now, your clothing line, are you exclusively online, or is there anywhere someone can try it on in person? Do you do pop-up shops? Can someone make an appointment with you, or is everything exclusively online?
Yeah, at the moment, just because of the dissolving of the relationship with so many of the boutiques, at first, with having so many partnerships with the boutiques, you could go in at different locations. But now we are online, and I don't have like a store or anything like that. I have started doing some kind of little pop-up shows, when I go out to little shows and kind of bring some stuff for people to try on, because I think that's important, for them to feel it and kind of know how the garment is going to work, try it on, twirl around, all that kind of fun stuff.
Right.
But right now, we're online.
Okay. And tell us your official website and how we can keep up with everything Lavendar's Jungle. Okay.
All the social media sites that you can find out there, Twitter, Instagram, all that, it's lavendersjungle.com. So it's LavendersJungle.com. And that's also that's my website, lavendersjungle.com, www.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you and learning about your brand, and continued success with everything you have going on.
Thank you, hon. Next time we see each other in person, we're going to have to sit down and actually talk. We're always like in the same events, but never really get to talk to each other.
Right.
So
well,
it's
a deal.
It.
All right. Continue success and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And thank you to our fabulous guest this evening. If you haven't already, don't forget to like our fan page on Facebook at facebook.com/Chenese Lewis Show. I've been your host this evening, Chenese Lewis. Thank you for tuning in and supporting. Until next time, keep thriving in your curves and be blessed.
You've been listening to The Chenese Lewis Show. For more info about the show, visit CheneseLewisShow.com.